Hey everyone, I am excited to share with you my job analysis and what I came across. I was searching for positions within higher education. I designed a infographic to kind of display my findings, and so let's go ahead and dive right in. So I utilized higheredjobs.com. I utilized this site rather than all of the other ones that are out there like Career Builder and the Chronicle of Higher Education and oh boy, there's a ton of them, right? And so some of you might have used other sites, but for me, I have a close connection with Higher Ed Jobs because this site has always been a site that if I've ever searched for a job for myself and I've applied, I have at least gotten an opportunity to interview, and so I know that this site is pretty sturdy in terms of being reliable from my experience. So with higher ed jobs, you have the option to kind of do a search. You can narrow down your search by location of where you want the job to occur, the topic of the job titles, I should say, of the jobs. And so I utilized the following categories of the positions that I was looking for: admin and instructional technology and design, curriculum and instructional faculty, thinking that the instruction design and technology department could fall under curriculum and instruction, and then obviously ID and tech faculty. So because I could either see myself being over an administrator dealing with curriculum instruction, teaching and learning, online instruction, whole realm of opportunities, but basically being a leader within the college of online course development, or I could see myself teaching, and so that kind of in higher ed. So I kind of was exploring that as well. So that's my reasoning for kind of doing the search that I did. And when I was doing my search, I was searching specifically for either tenure track faculty, online course development, instructional designers that were leaders. I was searching for kind of either the admin positions, like I was saying, or I was searching for teaching positions. So hopefully tenure track. So here are a few of the postings that I came across. I'm going to review 3 out of the 6 with you really quickly, primarily because there are kind of some repeats in the qualifications. Just know that as you're looking through this infographic and the job postings, you can click directly on the titles of each of these posts or each of these listed here, and it will bring you to the job postings. I've already pulled them up. And so let's go ahead and look at the first one. Director of Online Learning at Southeastern Louisiana University. So this one didn't give so much explanation, but it does bring you to an alternative link. And so when you click on that, it brings you directly to Southeastern Louisiana University's website, and it kind of narrows down what the qualifications are. So this is that one of those positions that I can see myself doing because it's directed towards leading online learning at the whole university sense, right? So being able to kind of be the leader in terms of assisting faculty, training others to kind of get out of the rut of here's my weekly discussion and here's my weekly written assignment, and let's kind of stick to that and not explore other multimedia and explore project-based learning. And I want to be that game changer when it comes to online course development, and so this kind of is an opportunity for me to do that in a bigger scale, right? So a couple of things that kind of, we're going to talk about this in a moment, but a couple of things that pointed out to me specifically with this was the whole managing online learning initiatives, like having experiencing managing online learning, and then also experience as a supervisor and office manager in higher education. Again, this word manager stood out to me because we had just done a paper on leadership, and with the leadership, we also explored a little bit about the whole managing aspect of things and what's the difference between being a manager and being a leader. And I knew for me that was something that was a leadership skill that I really needed to exercise more development on. I don't want to be a manager of people. I want to be a leader. I want to inspire and coach and support people to being able to be that game changer. As I said, I don't want to have to micromanage people and follow up with them in terms of them not doing their job or anything of that sort. Of course, there's going to be office manager duties, maybe payroll, maybe signing off on some things, office ordering supplies and emails, that sort of thing. Maybe that's where the office manager comes in. But in terms of managing online learning initiatives, maybe leading online learning initiatives is kind of what I want to do, because I want to, again, inspire and support and bring new ideas to the table. I don't necessarily want to be the one who's, telling people what to do. I want them to feel comfortable that they're making the right decision. So, and I'm happy to help them get to that point, but I don't want to tell them what that right decision is, if that makes sense. So there's that posting. When we go back to the infographic, you're going to notice the other ones like Director of Teaching and Learning. You're going to notice like Instructional Design Manager. Again, there's that manager word again. Those, and then the Assistant, Associate, or Senior Instructional Designer. Those positions specifically are relatively the same kind of position that we just viewed, in terms of kind of being that leader at the university level to inspire and coach and design and develop online courses. And so we're going to look at two other postings that kind of are a little bit different, or titled something a little bit different. The second posting that we're going to look at is this Assistant Professor of Educational Technology, Indiana State. So when I pull this up, you're going to say, what in the world? And the reason why you're going to say what in the world is because this posting goes back to February 20th, 2019. And so this kind of brings me to what was surprising to me. I know we're going to talk about this later on in the infographic, but I could not find for the life of me tenured track positions in our field of instructional technology, educational technology, curriculum and instruction that really dives into instructional technology or design. It's like really hard to find tenure track positions. There were a couple of lecturer positions, there were a couple of instructor positions, but if you're going to teach in higher ed, you want that tenure track position, because obviously it is more applicable to pay. It's better pay. It's diving into some research opportunities, just more opportunities all around. And so I found it really interesting that there were not too many of those. So this is kind of what you would expect a tenure track professor position to look like. Like I'm an assistant professor at a community college. Obviously this is at a state university, so it's a little bit of a greater scale, but it's kind of what I'm doing now, right? It's kind of the whole teaching aspect of things. It looks like there may be some supervising some field candidates and some projects within their program. So I just, this is kind of a normal position, but the reason why I'm bringing this to your attention is because it was one of my surprising facts, that it was really difficult to find positions in this field as a tenure track faculty. So that brings me to that. And then the last posting I want to look at is going to be this curriculum specialist at Anne Arundel Community College. So the one thing you will also notice is I'm in the state of Maryland, and I'm looking at postings kind of all over the place, right? Anne Arundel Community College is actually located 25 minutes from me, so I found this interesting. And we're going to look at it in a second. But one thing that I found was that if you want to be in this field, you have to kind of be willing to kind of get up and go wherever. There are quite a bit of remote positions as well, just as an instructional designer, which is pretty cool as well. So if I ever want to do some side work or anything like that, but yeah, so you kind of have to be willing to get up and move in higher ed, it seems like. So there's not too many opportunities kind of where you are. So let's look at curriculum specialist at Anne Arundel. Again, 25 minutes from me. So curriculum specialist, when you hear that, at least when I did, I was like, oh, I'm going to be specializing in curriculum. I'm going to be designing curriculum, maybe some syllabi. And there's a little bit of that in here. But when you dive into actually reading the description and the responsibilities of the job, you start to find out that there is kind of a lot of support happening to faculty with their whole face-to-face hybrid online course development. And this is other projects, and I'm assuming that goes along with like syllabi development and objectives for courses and so maybe some curriculum stuff. But there is a lot of ADA compliant face-to-face hybrid online course development. I feel like instructional design principles. I mean, this is an instructional design position, but then it adds on some extra duties to the role. And so that must be why they're calling it a curriculum specialist position, which makes sense. But I just thought I would want to point this out that in our field, we kind of did a project on this in another course, but our field really does a wacky job of like calling our positions a lot of different things. I think it's called something different at every college or university possible out there. So when you look for postings and positions, it's important to consider everything, consider all your options. Because when I saw this, I was like, I don't know, but let me click on it anyway and see what it is. So I'm glad that I did. So moving on to kind of the leadership skills. So there were some specific leadership skills that were pointed out, and then some that I kind of inserted in there. But the first 3 were in every single posting I looked up, no matter if it was a teaching position or instructional design position, or if it was a leading instructional design, online course development, director position, what have you. But organizational skills was a requirement. Being able to communicate, obviously, ability to work with others, especially diverse individuals, was a big one. Being able to manage your time effectively and have project management skills. All 3 of those were mentioned over and over again in all 6 of those postings, no matter the realm. The last one wasn't too applicable to the teaching tenure track faculty posting, but was applicable to all of the other postings. Managing online learning initiatives. So I pointed out in the beginning with that first posting at Southeastern Louisiana University, and I pointed that out specifically because it's mentioned in every other posting. Managing. And that was something that I said I did not want to do. I would want to work on developing myself and being able to manage online learning initiatives. Because when I read that, I'm like, okay, I'm managing those initiatives, but I feel like I'm also managing people. And so that's my I need to kind of develop my skill set in being able to manage people. And if I don't want to do that, then I also need to, be mindful. Maybe I don't necessarily have to manage people. Maybe I can just lead them and support them and coach them and indirectly manage them. And so that's just kind of something I would need to self-reflect on and think about moving forward. And so I think that there's really nothing, reading between the lines here, there's nothing else I should really mention in terms of attributes that were implied. I think these are the big ones, So I think they kind of hit the nail with actually implying, not just implying, but actually stating the specific skills that they're expecting. So I kind of already mentioned what stood out to me and some findings that were surprising, but the biggest one is the whole tenure track faculty positions and limited availability of those positions. That's why I showed you the one all the way back from February. So if anyone comes across any, and maybe I just wasn't looking in the right place, but again, I've looked at other sites and still wasn't able to find them. So that's an interesting theme there. When I kind of was just looking at instructional design positions within the last 30 days, there were 280 positions I could apply for. So instructional design is a hot commodity in terms of colleges and universities want an individual, to help support online learning on their campus, whether it be in a leadership role. But I just think it's interesting that they don't necessarily have a lot of postings out there to teach individuals to do that. So I'm wondering how many programs are there out there and what kind of faculty they're hiring to teach in those programs to get people trained to be instructional designers, because clearly there's a need for instructional designers, but there's not a lot of training or individuals doing the training to support instructional designers being created, if that makes sense. So just food for thought and kind of curiosity sparked within me. And then the last thing that really stood out to me, as I mentioned earlier, was the whole title thing of the position. So just because a position has a title of something completely different, like curriculum specialist, doesn't necessarily mean you should skip it. Um, and so every college, like I mentioned, or university has something different that they call the position that you're seeking. So make sure that you really dive deep into the job descriptions of the roles and the responsibilities of each job that you're even considering, or if it's at a college university that is close to you or somewhere that you're looking to go to work. I would just make sure that before you kind of put it in the bin of no, just make sure that you really consider clicking into it. So I think I hit all on the major points. I really enjoyed this project. I think that it's really applicable to our future, and so I'm looking forward to kind of hearing your feedback on what I found and kind of seeing what everyone else has found. So Dr. L, shout out to you for giving us this project. I really think it was applicable to us, and one of definitely the major useful ones that we've done so far. So thank you for that, and I look forward to hearing everyone's feedback. Thanks.